So I just want to cover some of the basics of measurement blocks, calculation blocks, and the different types of data saves. So starting off, let's just grab a measurement block, and we'll grab a calculation block, and we'll just grab a generic data save. So just getting started with the different types of blocks here, you can see that in this case on the voltage measure block, I'm going to right click and hold on the black square, and you can see that the cursor changes to indicate that I have a hold of that port, and then I drag it over to the port I want to connect it to in my calculation block, and then I release it. And that's how I make a connection. If I want to disconnect a block, it's just the same operation. You just right click and hold and then drag it back to its origin, and that disconnects the blocks. And so once a block is connected, this connection stays no matter where you move that block. So we can move it all around, you can put it anywhere you want, it's still going to hold that connection. And for perfectionists out there, you can even make a perfectly straight line. So moving on to calculation blocks, when you first bring one in, it comes in as a generic block. And when we connect it to some kind of resource, it then inherits the data type that's being passed to it, and that determines what kind of operation can be performed. So I've connected it to a receiver voltage measure, and so if I right click now on the block, I can select calculation, and here it's going to display at the top of the window the data type, and then based on that data type, these are the operations that I can perform. And so in this case, we're just going to convert this RF voltage measure to dBm, and you can see it updates the block. Now if I want to pass that data on to a data save, data saves are similar to calculation blocks in that they come in as a generic save block, and then when we connect it to some upstream data type, it inherits that data type, and then that will determine the data format for the save. If I right click and drag and connect this block, now I can right click on my data save and I can pick a data format. So because upstream it's connected to a voltage measure and I converted that to power dBm, now my options are dB watts or dBm. So a little bit more about calculation blocks. There's 3 different types available. There's a 1-input calc block, which is what we just used. And then there's a 2-input calc block and a 3-input calc block. So let's bring those in. Just like the single input calc button, these work in the same manner. Whatever is connected to the A port on the calc block determines the data type. So once I connect it to a voltage measure block here, now when I right click on this calculation block, here are my options for a 2-input calc button. So you can see it's a little bit different than a single input calc. So it's for doing basic arithmetic between 2 inputs, and then there's some specialized operations. Now a 3-input calc block is a little bit different. This one's data type is determined by what's connected to the B input port. And so when I connect that one here, you can see these offer some different options. And on these ones, when you left click in the lower field, it displays some information about the operation. Now, going back, let's talk a little bit about data saves. And for this, it's worth looking at the editor. So in here, there's some structure to the layout for the different types of data saves. So starting all the way on the left, all by itself over here, this unspecified save. So this is for saving data out to the data log. So it's a specialized save, and it has features like the ability to add limits, to add units, and then also to add unit scaling. Now these data saves in the middle, these are just different types of local variable saves. So these are for saving data to be used internally in the test program. And then to the left of them are also their counterparts. So we're saving away to these different variables on the right, and we're calling them back with the blocks on the left. And then over here to the right are some specialized data saves, these cal data type buttons. And so over to the right are these specialized blocks that are for saving data to previously defined calibration variables. The main thing to note is that local variables do not have any units. So if you make some kind of a measurement and you want to save it away to a local variable, you need to do any kind of unit conversion using a calculation block. So for instance, let's just start with another test panel here. So let's use a power measurement button this time. So a receiver power measurement comes out in units of watts, and if I wanted to save it as a local variable, but I wanted to have it in units of dBm, I'm going to need to do a calculation on it to convert it. So if I add a calculation button, here I can right-click. So this comes in as a data type RI power, and here I can convert it to dBm. And then if I wanted to pass it on to a local variable in units of dBm, I can just bring in a local variable. And now I can just give this a name. And so that's how, if I was working with local variables where I can't control the units with the block itself, I can use a calculation block to do that conversion for me. For more information on measurement blocks, calculation blocks, and the different types of data saves, definitely reference the Cassini user manual that's available in the Apple iBook store.